Hi. So today we are at Circular Cities Summit 2.0
Yeah.
in Dubai, and I'm so happy to be with you and understand what you are doing with the Circular Cities network. So if you just don't mind telling a little bit about yourself
Okay.
and your role. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, I'm Damian.
Yeah.
I'm the Director General for Circular Cities
Right.
Network.
Right.
First of all, how it started was when back in 2023 last year.
Yeah.
I was also chairing the first Circular Cities Summit, and that was the time when the two companies actually came together to have this idea of doing a conference on circularity.
Okay.
And this is where I actually conceived the idea of a summit by bringing the presidents of the different organizations together with a common goal and also with common objectives of how to move circularity and sustainability to the next
Next level.
That's right. So, well, my background is actually, I'm an architecture trained, and also with Masters of Landscape Architecture.
Wow, okay.
And then I did my executive education with Cambridge Judge Business School.
Wow.
So with that, I began to be very familiar. Actually, over the years, I'm also with the National Parks Board and also
Yeah.
with the government for more than 20 years.
Right.
So that is when I thought, the idea of conceiving, something where we work together, collaboration is key. And
The public and the private partnership kind of a thing,
exactly,
right?
and also
Yeah.
driving the industry,
Yeah,
driving
okay.
the professional, because a lot of times, a lot of conversation starts on the government level.
Right.
And then there is also the part on the ground level.
Right.
So now it's using the industry, the profession,
Right.
to drive change in the next year, in the next level.
Right.
So as the Director General for Circular Cities Network, that
Right.
we have incorporated this year on 4th June, 2024.
For the
So
UAE.
yes, as a non-profit organization,
Okay.
that is where we officially actually invite the organizations together and also have the board meetings and then start to move this whole Circular Cities Summit and also the roadmap. Yeah.
Right. So being a non-profit organization, you're basically inviting a lot of private sector architects and designers and landscapers and the government to come together to focus on building a more
Yes.
sustainable cities and
Yes.
more circular economy kind of a
We,
thing.
we,
Yeah.
we first bring in the organizations, the professional organizations at the global level.
Okay.
And then we start to bring in business partner, industry drivers, and also companies
Right.
to actually see how they want to support this
Right.
whole movement and also the roadmap towards circular cities.
Okay. So in your opinion, what are the most impactful strategies cities can adopt to become fully circular and sustainable?
Well, first of all, I think it has to be quite on a few channels and also strategies.
Right.
First is on a policy, because you have to drive circularity or any changes on the policy level,
Right.
where the government actually have a very strong policy and drivers
Okay.
to ensure the industries or even developers actually move towards circularity. That
Right.
is the first part.
Right.
And then the next level is, of course, after the awareness that we actually
Right.
built on the circular economy or circular cities amongst the professional. So this is where the expertise and the knowledge and also exchanges
Right.
of dialogues needs to come together.
Yeah.
Because circularity is actually about innovation.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
innovation with economy in mind. So it's not just purely talking about ideas,
Right.
but what actually sustain the ideas is we have to think from the economy side.
Right.
Because if we just purely talk about ideas and principles without actually working with business partners, stakeholders,
Right.
it can't happen. Because
Right.
we all know, around the world, a lot of things are driven by the business side of things, the financial side of things, the economy
Right.
side of things.
Right.
So circular cities is always, underlined with economy in mind.
Absolutely. And I think UAE being a hub of infrastructure, right? Like the global hub of infrastructure, having the best infrastructure in place, among the best infrastructure here in so many iconic buildings we have.
Yeah.
So I think this happens to be a great place where I think government is also very supportive and very visionary of the fact that
Yes.
they need to get sustainable. But do you think that all the big builders that we have right
Yeah.
now in Dubai
Yeah.
have built iconic structures? Do you think for them considering building a sustainable architecture or building a sustainable towers and townships comes at an extra cost? Does it increases your cost of construction and execution of the project, or it's just the mindset that people have or stuck in that sustainability is expensive, so they just try to cut corners? Oh no, I don't know, it might increase my cost. So, what is your take on that bit of it?
I think there is this notion that where we talk about sustainability is more expensive. Actually, it's all about thinking in systems.
Right.
Sometimes we are more convenient to think a certain way or do things a certain way.
Right.
Which we have not been challenging ourselves to do things differently.
Right.
I
Absolutely.
believe everything starts from the first step.
Right.
And also because the notion of things being expensive is all about the mindset.
Right.
Well, when we first start to build a building, it is expensive, right?
Right. I mean, of
but
course,
if,
they build
if
Burj
already
Khalifa.
given to build a
Right.
building requires this sort of closed ecosystem or working together to integrate, that expensive is already embedded. And then if everything goes with the embedded, the good practices, best practices,
Yeah.
after 10, 20 years, nobody will think that is expensive because the expensiveness has already been integrated.
Right. So
Because when we start to change
Right.
and we are uncomfortable with the change, having more expertise, having a bit more work or more innovations coming in,
right.
this is where we start to say it's more expensive.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I think you're right about it is the mindset.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because we've been in this industry, we've been talking to so many people and different stakeholders, like different levels, whether it's fashion, whether it's, day-to-day FMCG products. The whole mindset is that as soon as I go sustainable, I shell out more money.
Yeah.
So I think, of course, building up a new infrastructure cost, but then it's the cost that you need to probably subset in a period of time.
Actually, maybe just let me continue on. As part of it's about paradigm shift, the mindset shift, pivoting. I mean, we hear a lot about this. So it is how we pivot, we shift, we innovate,
Right.
Towards something that we should be doing. Right now we are not doing or maybe doing little, but it's about pivoting towards the other side of the equation.
So, as a Director General of the Circular Cities Network, what is your long-term vision for future sustainable urban development, and how do you see the role of global partnerships evolving in this context?
Okay. If you actually look at our circular cities, the tagline that I have also created is connecting cities, inspiring change.
Right.
Cities will never be perfect. Even
Absolutely.
how well we try to strive, there's always place for improvement.
Yeah,
But
and
more
we are at the stage 1 right now.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
So more importantly is really, we connect cities and also making sure that we hope to inspire more people to move towards the right direction.
Right.
And we always can learn from each cities, whether you're the big one or you're the smaller one or the growing. We have things to learn.
Right.
And I think it's more important that we carry a progressive mindset to just think that we are already there. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, can you share an example of cities or region where your circular city planning strategies have been successfully implemented to combat climate change, or you are in a process of, because I know this is a fairly new organization, but maybe in your previous roles or right now also, wherever you have kind of been a part?
Well, I must say that there are cities who are striving towards it, and there are cities who are very good in certain areas. Whether
Can you name a few cities, maybe?
Well, like say Amsterdam, Amsterdam going green. Singapore going on the water circularity, where we use every drop of water that comes down, from the sky, and then we actually reuse it. We have 4 different ways of actually recycling the water, desalination, and so on.
Amazing.
And I must say that it is not just about one area.
Right.
Even Singapore, I must say that we have areas to improve on the waste management side.
Right.
And there are cities that are very good in certain areas that might have to improve on the other area.
Right.
So for me, I'm reluctant to say a circular city, or we actually name or label this is a circular cities. More importantly, as we are also going to launch the Circular Cities Award, this gala dinner tonight.
Right.
It is about how we identify cities with policy in place, education in place, research in place, and many different things in place, striving towards where they want to get to. It's not about the end goal; it's about the process.
Yeah, and I also personally feel that every small step matters, right?
Yes.
From one day, you cannot aspire for perfection from day one, for something you don't have.
That's right.
When you're in a process of building something, I think a lot of sustainability advocates or maybe passionate people, they sometimes used to shun down a lot of things,
Yeah.
saying that this is not 100% sustainable. But this is my personal viewpoint, that that you have to applaud for every small step taken. So I applaud for Singapore being able to kind of do water in 4 recycling methods, and probably now they have space to look at air, or maybe now they
Yeah.
have space to look at waste.
Yeah.
But expecting everything in that one package, I think it's difficult from day one.
Of course.
So, and now that you're doing, now that we are, what do you foresee as the next big innovation in sustainable urban design, and how do you think it will shape cities of the future?
Well, I would say actually there are many different areas as mentioned. But
Right.
if I want to bring up one dimension, it is also one of the third principles, the regenerate nature we just heard in a morning session.
Right.
Because this regenerate nature, here we are talking a lot about environment.
Right.
But more and more so, people are also now talking about people,
Yeah.
the mental health. How people living in cities, whether it's the climate change that have already producing trauma to people, the anxiety and so on,
Yeah.
to even the stresses in urbanization.
Right.
So I think a lot of people forgot, regenerate nature always is about the environment. We use less, yes,
Yeah.
and then we allow the nature to actually revive and rejuvenate.
Yeah.
But don't forget, we as human, as
Are a
we are
part of-
impacted by the work we are doing, the things that we are doing, the climate change, we also need to regenerate.
Yeah.
So there is always already the two school of thought: the nature as human, the nature as also the environment.
Yeah. No, of course, we are a part of nature, right? I mean, you can't put yourself out of the. That's what I think that's a mistake we did. We kind of excluded ourselves from the whole environmental scene, and as human race, we start kind of thinking very individualistically,
That's
our
right.
own goal, our own
Yeah.
growth, but forget about the animals, about the birds, about the trees. So I think that's definitely that humans kind of distance themselves from the nature. So, what can you share some example of cities or region where you have successfully implemented this? I just want to bring this back because I want to know one example from that this particular organization is being taking initiative on.
Well, that is the tough one, because when we talk about region, I mean,
Right.
There is the Asia region, Asia Pacific region, all the other region, Middle East.
Anything, wherever you have a successful, any collaboration that you've been managed to bring together under this whole
Well, if you are going to
non-profit.
ask me under Circular Cities Network,
Yeah,
of
yeah.
course, not exactly.
Not exactly at the moment, okay.
But in terms of successful, I would say collaboration-wise,
Yeah.
is successful because,
Yeah.
what we have done with the different organizations.
Right.
From 4, we now grow to 8.
Right.
And then
Yeah, I saw the whole list
also,
of-
I
right.
just came from even the International Federation Landscape Architects World Congress,
Yeah.
sharing the circular cities, and the United Nations Environment Program is also interested in how we
Yeah.
are looking at this entire collaboration.
Right.
So I would say that in terms of strategies, every place is actually moving towards it, and
Right.
we need to build up the momentum for advocacy
I
and
agree.
also awareness.
Right. So, what advice would you give to young professionals or students interested in entering the field of sustainable urban planning, to the future architects and the future designers, interior designers, and landscape architecture?
Well, I think what I'm going to say next is not new, because it's about thinking in ecosystem, thinking
Right.
in systems. Even circularity cluster planning is about how we group, a certain economy together to reduce
Right.
waste, to eliminate pollution,
Yeah.
and then also bringing in nature and so on. So I think for young professional, it's about, don't start planning only with your own profession and expertise.
Right.
Because again, this is the era where we all acknowledge, even
Right.
with the presidents of all the organization, planning starts with working with everyone, at the highest level.
Right.
Yeah. And not to forget, and not only just to bring them in later. Yeah.
Right. And also being like, I think it's very important to think climate inclusive.
That's right.
I think that's the very important aspect that we as humans have forgotten to kind of bring in picture when we select anything, when we take an action.
Yeah.
I think this is a part of an education which is missing as a
Yes.
whole.
And because
Yeah.
every decision made has a consequence,
Right.
so it is also a lot on, let's say, on urban planning, a lot of scenario planning of what is the consequence that actually
Of
follows
every act.
of everything that you plan, land use, and so on.
Right. So is there anything that you want to like pass on, any message or any vision through this whole great initiative that we have started? And I really appreciate that it's a non-profit, which I wasn't aware about. So what is it that you would want to share with people to look at while being I mean, I'm sure everybody is doing some form of construction, whether they're
Yeah.
building their own personal house or buying an apartment for themselves, or being a builder on the business side of it, or being a kind of facilitator,
Yeah.
being on the working
Yes.
side of it.
Well,
So,
I would think that everyone plays a part,
Right.
because it's not just about, for us, it's on the industry, on the professional organizations.
Right.
We could move certain things, but we also need someone from the government, the policy level to drive things. We also
Right.
need people on the ground, you and me, like the layman, the common
Right.
people, to also start to reduce
Our own.
things that we don't need, and also eliminate, use less,
Yeah.
and also help to protect the environment.
Yeah.
So I think everyone can play a part, not
Right.
necessarily through a summit like that, but in our everyday life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time
You're
and
welcome.
sharing your insight today with us with the Sustainable Brands Journal at this amazing Circular Cities Summit. And I want to wish you all the best with your vision and your collaborative partnerships with UAE.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks.